Hello students, welcome to StudyIQ. So we will continue our discussion on economy. We were discussing about international organization. So this is the last module of our economy discussions. So with this I think, and this is the last session I think, okay. So here we will be stopping our economy classes. We started off with international organization. We discussed about GATT. We have discussed about WTO. I think I have taken around 7-8 sessions for this GATT, WTO, all the WTO agreements, all the WTO ministerial conferences, everything we have discussed. Then we discussed about World Bank, okay, and we have seen IMF also. So World Bank, I think I have taken 2 sessions, one specific to World Bank and then one was related to World Bank group, okay. There we have discussed about all the 5 different organizations. Then we have also talked about IMF. So here in this session I'm going to talk about IMF reforms, okay. Maybe one more session I'll be taking that is related to the BRICS, and maybe this G20 also I'll cover along with that. So the BRICS Bank, Asian Development Bank, etc. will be covered in that. Last year there was a question on Asian Development Bank, okay. So this is your second last session on economy, and after this I'll be starting with some other discussion, maybe post-independence or ethics, but still I'll continue with that. So here international organization, we will be talking about IMF reforms. But before I move on to IMF reforms, what we have discussed about IMF, so there was a UN monetary and financial conference, right? So we have discussed about this UN Monetary and Financial Conference, which was held in 1944 in Bretton Woods. And how many countries were attended? 44 countries attended the UN Monetary Financial Conference, which was held in 1944 in Bretton Woods. And it was proposed that 3 organizations will be established. So what are they? IBRD and IMF. This too is known as Bretton Woods Twins, and it was established. There was one more proposal also, that was ITO, International Trade Organization, but this did not established. Actually, instead in 1947 there was a meeting of 23 countries in Geneva, and an agreement was signed, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT. So 1948 onwards GATT was operational instead of International Trade Organization related to trade. And Uruguay round we have discussed, and that ends with 8th round, that is the Uruguay round. And then WTO came into existence after the Marrakesh Agreement, or the Dungal Draft, or the Draft Final Act. So all those things we have covered. So here IBRD also we have discussed. IMF, what all things we have discussed, it came into effect, it came into operational, or it was established in 1945. After 2 years it came into operational in 1947. When you talk about World Bank, it was established in 1944, and from 46 it came into operation, right? Here if you see IMF, how many member countries are there? 189 member countries are there. Where is the headquarter? Washington DC is the headquarter. So the membership of IMF is actually necessary for the membership of IBRD, okay. And then the managing director is the head here. In case of World Bank, it is the president. So here managing director, and I have told you managing director as per convention it will be from Europe, and there in World Bank the president will be from US always, okay. Then we have also discussed about various functions, like to promote international monetary policies, okay, to promote international monetary policy, or international monetary cooperation, sorry, to promote international monetary cooperation, to minimize restriction on convertibility of currencies, to minimize restriction on convertibility of currencies, okay. And then to ensure exchange rate stability, to ensure exchange rate stability, okay. And then to assist member countries to overcome BOP crisis, right? This is very important function of IMF. the balance of payment crisis, and we have got assistance from IMF in 1991 when there was a balance of payment crisis, and we got some conditional assistance, okay, and based on those conditions we had to open up our economy, okay, and then we have followed, we have given complete current account convertibility also, we have changed our exchange rate system also from fixed system to floating system. So all these discussions are done, so I'm not getting into the details of those things, some of which are done in some modules, okay, that we are discussing around 20 modules, okay. So I think I have given the entire 20 module topic wise syllabus in my Telegram channel. So 20 modules, I have taken around 300 sessions. So I don't know how many is uploaded and how many is yet to upload, but entire topic list is given in Telegram. So if you are not getting the videos in the order, you can go to Telegram channel. So this is my Telegram channel. You can get this this ID, Zia Safir. So that's my Telegram channel. You can also get in touch with me in Instagram, or you can get in touch with me. This is my Facebook ID also. So Telegram channel, the syllabus is completely given, mains and prelims. Entire economy, around 300 videos is there, so you can watch that. There is no point in attending, there is no need to go any coaching classes, and there is no need to read anything for economy except economic survey, and economic survey is only to update the values. Otherwise, for conceptual clarity, everything, each and every minute concepts we have covered, okay. So from starting from demand supply chapter to this international organization, which is your last chapter. So then some other functions like to provide technical assistance like training to officials, okay, etc. is there. Then it reviews economic policies of member countries, that means the surveillance system will be there. Then what about funding, or the source of fund here? Source of fund for IMF. When we discussed about World Bank, I have told you share capital subscribed by the member countries, one source, and then issue of bonds. But when it comes to IMF, it is first one is actually quota, and quota is very important because quota is deciding your borrowing power and voting share, etc. All these are actually decided on the basis of quota. It is similar to the subscribed capital when we discuss about World Bank. So quota, out of the quota, 25% has to be paid in terms of gold or foreign currencies, and 75% in domestic currencies. What was the difference when it comes to World Bank? 2% in terms of gold or foreign currencies, 18% in terms of domestic currency. What about rest of the 80%? You don't want to pay now, or you don't want to pay it only if it is demanded. So this is basically payable on demand. So even though your subscribed capital will remain, let's say $100 million is there, you need to pay only $20 million. Okay, so I hope you understood. But in case of IMF, whatever quota is there, you need to completely pay that. And how it is divided? Like this: 25% gold or foreign currency, 75% you can pay in domestic currencies. So I've told you this quota is used for subscription, voting power, allocation of SDR. SDR is the currency of IMF. I'll be discussing about SDR now, okay? And then borrowing. How borrowing, if your quota, based on your quota, 6 times of your quota you can borrow, right? And that's why I've told you, when developing countries borrow, they go beyond this 6 times limit, right? When the balance of payment crisis is there, their quota is limited, their quota is actually small. So when the quota is small, if you even go for into six times, still you need to actually borrow more than this, okay? That's why if you borrow more than the quota, or if you borrow more than the limit is 6 times the quota, then conditions will be there. That's why when developing countries borrow, the limitations or conditions are there. But when developed countries borrow, they borrow within the quota. Why? Or they borrow within the limitation. Why? Because their quota is larger. Okay, so when the quota is larger, when you multiply with 6, that's huge. So they can borrow, everybody can borrow up to 6 times the quota. But since developing countries quota, now what decides this quota or the subscribed capital, etc.? It is all actually decided by the share in world GDP and share in world trade. Okay, so and it is actually taken at market prices, and our demand is it should be taken at purchasing power. If it is taken at purchasing power, we are the 3rd largest economy and we will get better share. But if it is taken at market price, we are 8th, 9th, right? Our position is lower. What is market price? What is purchasing power? These are different exchange rates. So you can get all those videos. Listen to all these videos. Economic classes are complete in itself. You don't want to, again I'm telling you, you can take it for granted. It's my confidence and I'm passing on to you exactly the same. You don't want to read anything else. You see the previous year question paper, 30 questions, close to 30 questions were asked. Everything you can answer. Those who attended all these sessions, you will be able to answer all those questions. Nothing will be left out. Okay, that's about the borrowing. Then one more is actually related to votes, right? When it comes to votes, what about World Bank? World Bank, there was a basic vote, right? Basic vote, then plus one vote for each share. One vote for each share. So one share means $1 lakh. So basically one vote for $1 lakh. In case of IMF, how is the voting? There is a basic vote plus one vote for each quota of 1 lakh SDR. So here one vote for 1 lakh SDR. So here one vote for $1 lakh, that is one share. Here one vote for 1 lakh SDR. SDR will be if the exchange rate is actually around $1.5. Okay, so here it is SDR, here it is dollar. So what is the demand of the developing countries? Increase the basic vote, because their share is actually very less. So their voting will be less. For example, the US share is actually around 17%. So their voting power is also 17%. And if you see US plus EU, European Union put together, 51% is coming. More than 50% is coming. So these two will hold the majority. If the decisions are taken on the basis of majority, only Europe and US decide everything. And the managing director in case of IMF is from Europe, and World Bank, the president is from US, and if these two decides, there is a majority. 51% is from them. And that's the reason why we are demanding for, developing countries are demanding for double majority. So first you go with this as per this rule, and then you go for number of countries. Okay, so that is what double majority, that is actually a reform which is demanded but not accepted. We'll come to that. So, and then we have also discussed about the structure, like president in World Bank, here managing director, then board of governors will be there in World Bank, and here also board of governors will be there. Every country have to send 2 representatives as board of governors. In board of governors, 1 governor and 1 deputy governor. So in case of India, the finance minister is the ex officio governor, and the deputy governor will be RBI governor. Don't be confused, okay? And then there will be executive directors in both. Okay, so 24 will be there in IMF and World Bank, and out of which 19 elected and 5 nominated by the 5 largest quota holder. And in 2015 reform, I will tell you, in IMF everything will be elected by the countries. Okay, no nominated members will be there. We are going to discuss all those things. We have also talked about the publications. Okay, now let's move on to the IMF reforms. Before that, I'll tell you what is SDR. So special drawing rights, special drawing rights, SDRs. Okay, it is an international reserve. It is an, or simply you can say it is a currency of IMF, but not in paper form. Okay, so it's a national currency. So it is international reserve created by IMF in 1969 to supplement reserve assets of member country. Okay, now the prelims question from here can be, see, can SDR be used as part of forex reserve? If you remember, when we discussed about forex reserve, I have told you SDR could be used, the reserve transposition with IMF, and then gold and foreign currency. These are part of forex reserve, right? So SDR can be used as forex reserve. And do SDR fetch you interest? Yes. So now the prelims question can be like this: can SDR be used as a forex reserve? Yes, SDR can be used as a forex reserve. We have seen gold, SDR, reserves, RTP with IMF, reserve transposition with IMF, then foreign currencies. These are the components of forex reserve, right? So SDR will be part of forex reserve. Then second will be, can SDR fetch you interest? Yes, SDR can fetch you interest. If the country holding its SDR will get the interest, and IMF will be paying the interest. Okay, So, and SDR is actually allocated on the basis of what? Quota. I have told you when we discuss about quota, the importance is subscription, SDR, voting power, the borrowing capacity, everything is based on quota. So the largest quota holder will get largest SDR. Okay, so SDR is allocated on the basis of quota. So let me write that also. So it can be used in forex. I'm not writing completely. It can be used in forex. You will fetch interest, and it is allocated on the basis of quota. So it's a type of currency, but it's not a currency in paper. Okay, so it is what you call as paper gold. It's a paper gold. It is known as paper gold or a notional currency. Okay. So now what about the exchange rate of this? Its exchange rate is actually decided on the basis of 5 currencies. So what are the 5 currencies? Dollar obviously will be there. Then UK's pound sterling. Okay, and then euro. Okay, and then Japanese currency, yen. Okay, and then Chinese renminbi or yuan. So Chinese renminbi, which is recently added. Okay, so these are the 5 currencies upon which the exchange rate of SDR is actually determined. So SDR actually equal to, it is approximately equal to $1.4. Okay, so SDR serve as a unit of accounting of IMF and some other international organization also. So it actually serves as unit of accounting in IMF and some other international organization also. It is also called as paper gold and notional currency. Paper gold or notional currency. Why it is called as paper gold or notional currency? It is not having any, it is not in currency form. Okay, so it is not in a physical form like what you get in terms of rupee, etc. It is not in physical form. Okay. Now, can private entity hold SDR? No, private entity cannot hold SDR. Okay, so it cannot be held by private entities. Private entities cannot hold SDR. Now, I've told you before that SDR will fetch you interest. Okay, so let's suppose your quota is 100. Okay, and if you are holding, let's say 80 SDR is what you're holding, but your quota is 100. So if you're holding 80 SDR, then upon this holding, IMF will pay you interest. So IMF pay interest upon this 80 SDR, and if you don't have that 20 balance, then you have to pay interest upon the 20 SDR. Okay, so it's like this: if 100 is there, then there is no interest is paid or given. But if you hold this like this, if you hold 80, then IMF will pay you interest of for 80, and you have to pay interest for 20. Okay, so this is your quota 100. For example, India's quota is 100. So you hold 80. So IMF will give you how much? We have to pay. See, basically the idea is if your quota is 100, we have to pay for 100, right? We have to pay for 100. But if we hold 80, IMF will give you 80, and 20 we are not holding, but that is part of our quota, so you will be paying for 20%. Okay, so effectively you are paying 20% only. Okay, so ultimately you need to pay for 100%, but since you are holding 80%, IMF is giving you for 80%, so effectively you are giving interest for 20%. So basically when the interest is there, it actually encourages to keep SDR. That is why this interest is there. Now what about the connection between IMF and India? We have discussed about World Bank and India. Similarly, IMF and India. India is a founder member. Okay, so India is actually a founder member even in 1945, even before independence also. In case of World Bank also, I have told you India was a founder member. So India was a founder member. And 1994 we adopted. We have discussed this point already in convertibility. We adopted current account convertibility, complete full current account convertibility in 1994. At that time, I have told you the risk of going for full convertibility. That means current account and capital account. If you go for both, then full convertibility. Why there is a risk for going with capital account convertibility? We have discussed in detail. We have discussed about Tarapur Committee 1, Tarapur Committee 2. One was related to full convertibility. Second one was related to fuller convertibility. That the objective itself is not full, but close to full. Why? Because of that Asian crisis, that also we have discussed. Okay, so then 1994, I want to write here that full current account convertibility, full or current account convertibility. You just write current account convertibility, because when you use the word full, maybe confusion will come. Current and capital both together is full. Okay, so complete current account convertibility. Okay, and this is actually as per the commitment to IMF only. Then RBI adopted special data dissemination standard. Special data dissemination standard means when you're fixing the norms for money supply, what all components should be included, what should not be included. Like, go back to money supply video and see, we have discussed about M1, M2, M3, what is broad money, what is narrow money, what is money supply. So what to be included in one, what to be excluded, etc. is actually decided upon the IMF norms. Okay, so based on IMF norms only, RBI is deciding all these things. So in all these way we are connected to IMF. Okay, then there is an IMF institute to training to government officials, in issues relating to taxation, balance of payment, etc. Training to government officials in issues to taxation, balance of payment, etc. Monetary policies, all these training will be given. India is not a frequent borrower. We have borrowed in that balance of payment crisis 91-92 time, and 81 also we have borrowed, and India is not a frequent borrower. But when it comes to World Bank, we are the largest borrower. So IMF, we are not, in fact we are the creditor. Okay, so we are net lender to IMF. We have borrowed, we are not a frequent borrower. Now, what are the IMF reforms from the perspective of India and developing countries? IMF reforms, what we are asking for, first of all, the managing director. Managing director post should be open for all the country, okay, and it should be competition, or it should be competitive and merit based. Same was the demand in case of World Bank also. The president, as per convention, he is from US. So the demand is what? It should be open to all. It should be based on it should be based on competition, and it should be based on merit. Okay, so open for all based on competition and merit. Then second one, staff diversity to be increased from all countries. Staff diversity to be increased. Third one, quota formula to be revised, and you will see a change in 2015. Quota formula to be reviewed. Okay, so here what to be done, I've told you quotas on the basis of world trade, share in world trade and share in world GDP. Now currently what is the system? I've told you, if you take it at purchasing power parity, India will be in a better position, right? India's quota will be so high, so our borrowing and our power will increase, voting power will increase, we will be part of the decision making, but it is taken at market exchange rate. Okay, so our demand is completely, it should take at purchasing power. Now the current system is like this: 40% of GDP they consider at purchasing power parity, and 60%, that is a major part, is at market exchange rate. Okay, so it should be completely on the basis of PPP. That is actually the demand. Then when it comes to voting, I've told you what is the demand of developing countries: increase the basic votes. Okay, so they can't contribute more, so if it is based on contribution, it's only US and EU, so increase the basic votes. So increase basic votes. Fifth one, general resources should be increased. And last one, again related to voting, double majority voting. I have told you this point before. Double majority voting in cases of normal situation, it's not the problem. In cases of major decision. Okay, so what should be done? What do you mean by double majority voting? In case of major decision, first, as per the current system, But what is the problem which I have told you? As per the current system, US and EU hold greater than 51%. So only their voice itself is enough to get the majority. So at least for the major decisions, you have to hear the other countries also. So in case of major decision after the current system, then one more should be taken, that is the majority of all countries. That's what you mean by double majority voting. Okay, then these are the demands, and what were the reforms actually? IMF reforms 2015. So few of the demands were actually adopted or accepted. So first one, SDR quota. SDR quota was doubled. SDR quota was doubled. Second one, more than 6%. More than 6% quota shifted from, so there is a shift from developed countries to developing. Shifted from developed to dynamic emerging economies. Okay, then executive board will have all elected members. We have discussed it already. 24 members will be there, in which 19 elected and 5 nominated by the 5 largest quota holder. Now all will be elected. So executive board will have all elected members. Then 2 seats in the executive board to be transferred from European countries to developing countries. Okay, so these were the reforms which were undertaken. So I hope you understood what you mean by we have discussed all the facts which is related to IMF, what all things that you need to know about IMF. SDR we have discussed, the voting part, we have discussed, the way they raise fund we have discussed, borrowing and quota. And quota is important for which all things like subscription, voting power, SDR and borrowing limit, 6 times the borrowing limit. All these things are important from prelims point of view. We have discussed about SDR. I've told you SDR will be part of your forex, okay, and SDR can fetch you interest also. SDR will not be allocated to private entities. So all these important points from prelims point of view we have discussed, and these reforms are mainly important from mains point of view. If you need to critically analyze, I've given you these points. These are the demands. So this has to be done. So the reforms, if you need to critically analyze, you need to write from this perspective. If you need to talk about the reforms, you need to talk about these reforms. One more time, if you go through this, SDR quota was doubled. Okay, more than 6% quota shifted from developing to dynamic emerging. Executive board now fully elected, and 2 seats in the executive board is actually shifted from Europe to developing countries. What were the main demands? This is not accepted. MD open for all, no. Then staff diversity is normal. Quota, yes, okay, and then but not completely based on purchasing power parity. That is actually the demand. So increase in basic votes, no. Resource, okay. Double majority vote, no. Okay, so critical evaluation, you have the content. Reforms, this is a content. So I hope you understood everything that we have discussed today. In case if you have any doubt, you can get in touch with me here. That's my Instagram ID. This is my Instagram ID, Zia Safir. Or you can join the Telegram channel, that's Zia Safir. My Facebook ID is also the same, Zia Safir. Or you can get me in Facebook like this ID, Zia IAS, that's my Facebook page. Okay, so anyway you can get in touch with me. I'll give you my contact number also, 9790-892-697. In case if you want to write a test series with me, or if you need to get a regular classes or personal mentorship or guidance, we have different programs. You can get in touch with me here. Or this is another number, 98955-77775. Okay, so see you guys. Thank you.